Celebrate a big section win with us, and welcome to the CTN Outdoor Rink. Joe and I always have way too much fun, but that never changes. Coach O playing all the angles. Get ready to go back and forth. Sports Night is next.
Hello everyone, welcome to Sports Night. I'm Joe Young.
And I'm Howie Shapiro. We have a stacked show tonight.
We do. We got a lot of cameras out and a lot of exciting stuff to talk about. Some not so exciting stuff that we will go over here in the next 25 minutes or so. But we start on a high note. Girls hockey team, we thought sitting here last week, waiting for the seeds to come in, that they would be the number 3 seed and start against Osseo Park Center as the number 6, which was their last regular season home game. That's not the way it turned out on the coach's vote. They dropped from 3 to 4, which makes it a bit different. And they knew as the 4 seed, their road through the bracket would be much tougher, starting with a quarterfinal against Rogers. CPCR split the season series with the Royals, losing in overtime early in the year, and then an impressive come-from-behind 6-3 win less than 2 weeks ago. Now the rubber match would determine who moved on and whose season was over. Teams traded goals in the first. We pick up the action in the second. Kylie Oswego with the shot from the point. Taylor Zahalka with the deflection out front. CPR back in front 2-1. They add to it just 45 seconds later. Centering pass comes right back to Lily McKenzie. She's able to poke it home behind the keeper, give the Bluebirds a 3-1 advantage. But the Royals cut the lead in half midway through the period. Face-off win. Quick shot by McKenna Sandberg finds the 5-hole. CPCR holds that lead into the third. Rogers able to even it up early in the final frame. Avery Afterkirk with a great shot to the top shelf. It's 3 apiece. Bluebirds jump back in front quickly, though. Brooklyn Johnson cutting across the top of the zone. Takes the shot. McKenzie able to tip it past the keeper. Lily's second goal of the game has CPCR back in front. And it stays tense until the final minute when Kylie Scott breaks free, gets across center ice and slides it into a wide open net. Her second goal of the game seals the deal for the Bluebirds. A 5-3 win, and it was an exciting, fun game, back and forth the entire contest, and kept you on the edge of your seat. Only one penalty in the entire game. It was fun to watch.
It was crazy, and you know, I thought the fact that when CPCR got up 3-1, you know, they were going to put the pressure on, but give Rogers credit. They did such a nice job of coming back and then eventually evening up the score at 3. But that huge fourth goal, you know, pushed the Bluebirds over the top, and it was a fun win. And I know those two teams, neither one of them obviously wanted to go home.
Well, and both knew that the next test would be a daunting one. Number 1 seed Maple Grove got the bye in the first round. They will face off against the Bluebirds 5 o'clock at Roseville on Valentine's Day. In the other half of the bracket, 2 shutouts. Centennial Spring Lake Park 8-0 over Mounds View Iredale, and North Wright County with a 4-0 win over Osseo Park Center. And that was maybe the biggest shock of that section seating shakeup, as North Wright County jumped over both Rogers and Champlain Park Coon Rapids to get from 5 to 3. And of course, the greatest benefit to that is now you're seeing Centennial Spring Lake Park in the semifinals instead of Maple Grove.
Right.
Both are very, very good teams, but I think Centennial Spring Lake Park, a more favorable opponent to see in the semifinals. If you can avoid facing the top dog in any section bracket, you'd rather have it in the final.
Bluebirds definitely have their work cut out for them, but you know, they've got the opportunity to knock off the number 1 seed.
Well, and they only lost 4-2 in their one meeting.
They did.
Gave up a couple of shorthanded goals on a couple of mistakes. So
they're playing really good hockey right now.
They are. They are playing as well as they can, and that's what you want come playoff time. Boys hockey team is wrapping up its regular season tonight down in Simley. We talked about it last week. Very busy schedule to end the regular season. They had 4 games last week, and today makes 5 games in 8 days. Started with the makeup game against Totino Grace, and Coon Rapids had a 4-1 lead midway through the second period. But Totino Grace scored a power play goal late in the second and a couple in the third to force the tie. They went through an overtime and could not determine a winner. So the first tie of the season for the Cardinals.
Well, on Tuesday, the Cardinals hit the road to take on a Hopkins team struggling at the bottom of the Lake Conference. The Royals were coming off back-to-back wins, though, and hoping to keep that momentum going into the final week of the season. Cardinals also looking for a strong finish. We're looking for their 4th straight without a loss. Cardinals start the scoring late in the first on the power play. Tyler Barsness going coast to coast and finishing with a snipe to the top shelf far side. Pretty goal for him. Now the Cards offense, well, they didn't produce the way they have over the last week, but their defense improved and Will Wagner played big in the nets. Wagner stopped 37 of 38 Hopkins shots, finally snuffing out this flurry and getting some protection from his defense. Move to the second period. Nick Espinoza gets the steal in the corner, plays it out front to Golan. He's denied on the doorstep, but Caden Alphen puts the rebound into a wide open net, giving the Cardinals a 2-0 lead. The Cardinals, they had some chances to make it 3. Espinoza crashing the net ahead in the third, but the keeper able to cover. Hopkins score with just over a minute left, but the Cardinals, they're going to hold on for the 2-1 win.
On Thursday, the Cardinals played their final home game of the season, and they decided to take it outside on the CTN outdoor rink. It was also the start of a home-and-home series with Armstrong Cooper. The Wings were right behind the Cardinals in the conference standings, so this was 2 big games right at the end of the schedule. Wings start the scoring with a power play goal, but the Cardinals answer late in the first. Caden Alphen with a beautiful backhand feed to Tristan Golan to hammer home. It's tied at 1 after 1. Golan repays the favor early in the second. He gets around a defender, slides it to Alphen out front. Alphen goes to the backhand and puts the Cardinals up 2-1. Just 1:02 into the period. Still early in the second, Cardinals on the power play. Tyler Barsness will carry behind the net, then find Alphen at the back door for a one-timer. His second of the night makes it 3-1. Good guys. Third period now, Cardinals play it to the point for a quick shot. It's stopped, but a juicy rebound for Alphen. He flips it home on the backhand. His first career hat trick put the Cardinals up 5-2 with just over 10 minutes left. Unfortunately, the Wings did not roll over. Tanner Roush scored 2 goals just 45 seconds apart. Back to a 1-goal game, and the momentum behind Armstrong Cooper. They weren't done. Failed clear. Sam Burns shoots past the traffic out front over the glove. It's 5-5. Then just 22 seconds later, Wings win an offensive draw, and Charlie Gorgon finds the 5-hole. Wings back in front with just over a minute left. They add an empty net and down the Cardinals 7-5.
Yeah, tough. I love those outdoor games. They're fun to be at.
Especially with the weather, it was
beautiful.
Right where it's kind of the sweet spot for those outdoor games.
Yeah, unfortunately, they had the lead early and they just couldn't hold on to it, and then end up losing it in the end. Tough one for the Cards.
Well, and as I mentioned, that was the first of home-and-home series. On Saturday, they were down at New Hope Ice Arena, and look at the score on that one. Not a whole lot of defense being played. And, Caden Alphen, it took him till the last week of the regular season to get his first career hat trick, and he just went ahead and got another one the next time on the ice. Added an assist for a 4-point night. Tyler Barsness had 5 points for the Cardinals. Nick Espinoza, a pair of goals and an assist, and 2 assists each for Golan and Tyson. So, on the upside, offense looking good. On the downside, that's 3 games in a row where you let leads slip, 3 out of 4 in the week where leads slipped away. Had to settle for 2 losses and a tie in those games.
Always nice to score 8 goals.
Or 2 ties and a loss.
Always nice to score 8, but when you give up 8, that's not good either. So.
Yeah, unfortunately, the news is not all good for the boys hockey team. They learned over the past few days that they were in violation of a Minnesota State High School League rule. Activities Director Kurt Walrath sent out an email to the parents just a few days ago, stating in part, it was recently determined that Coon Rapids boys varsity hockey team was in violation of MSHSL bylaws regarding the use of an ineligible player. And then it goes on to say that as a result, the team's record will be adjusted to reflect forfeits for games that included the ineligible player. It is a definite disappointment.
Oh, absolutely.
And, they knew coming in, they had 3 guys who transferred in, and they thought all the T's were crossed and the I's were dotted. Apparently that wasn't the case. And while it is unfortunate, moving forward, it shouldn't change much for the Cardinals. They finished the season tonight at Simley, and then their placement in the section tournament will really be done on a vote. And those coaches are going to be voting not based on the record, but what they've seen throughout the season. And I think the bigger thing that will factor in will be their losses to injury that have certainly affected them over the last couple of weeks. It's good to see them getting some things straightened out over this last week. They put in a lot of goals.
They did.
But they gave up a lot of goals.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation, obviously. But if the coaches, as you mentioned, if the coaches look at it and say, regardless of the fact what happened, they still played well and they still would have won this amount of games, and hopefully it doesn't change anything in their section ranking.
Well, and I think it's going to be a tough road to hoe for the Cardinals come section time anyhow. But we will find that out later this week because the voting won't be done until after all games are complete.
Correct.
Which again, the Cardinals are down at the opposite end of the Metro for tonight's final game of the year against Simley. Wrestling team we've talked about over the last couple of weeks dealing with a lot of injuries, and that continued. They did go to Holdingford. We talked a little bit about it last week that they were considering not going due to the state of their team and not having really a full roster. And you see there, they gave up 5 forfeits against Paynesville and 6 against Holdingford. The good news is Bridenstine and Skradsky, I think, both won by pin in both of their matches down in Holdingford. So the guys that are there are wrestling very well, but they just don't have enough.
Well, the interesting, this wrestling program has been strong year in and year out. How many times, I can't remember the times where I've seen forfeits like that from the Cardinals.
Never.
And so it's obviously frustrating for the coaching staff. Coach Adams, I'm sure, very frustrated. But it's part of what things happen, and it's unfortunate, but they'll continue to wrestle on.
Yeah, and they have the team section tournament coming up on Friday. That's, I think, in Forest Lake. Individual section tournament will be on Saturday, the 25th. Gymnastics team did not have a meet last week, but we did get the complete results from the Anoka meet the week before, which was their final meet of the regular season. Coon Rapids putting up a 109. Cecilia Aureli was strong in all events, finished 6th on the floor and 7th on vault. Angel Marshall, a solid 7th place finish on the beam. As per usual, we see Ada Drummy at the top of the leaderboard for the Cardinals in just about every event. 4th place in bars and beam, and also 4th place in the all-around with a 31.60. JV conference team meet was this past week, and they do it in 2 separate halves.
Right.
Cardinals finished at the bottom of their half, but I did want to mention that Callie Rombach won the bars, the beam, and the vault at the JV conference meet. So that's pretty exciting. Even if they don't take home a team title, to have one girl that goes out and wins 3 events, that's really good for not only for their confidence in that room, but knowing that they have some skill moving forward come next year.
I'll get you a magnifying glass for next week.
Appreciate that.
No problem.
Appreciate that.
Believe me, I'm right there with you.
Swimming and diving team did not compete. They have the section tournament still a little more than a week away, coming up the 23rd through the 25th. Section tournaments were held last week for the Nordic ski teams, and both boys and girls team will be represented at this week's state championships. The boys as a team finished in 5th place in the Section 5 championships. The sprint relay team of Albie Ludwig and Lachlan Demmer was first place with a finals time of 11:48.1. Aaron Casey qualifies as an individual in the pursuit, taking 4th place overall in the pursuit, just over 27 minutes total time. That's pretty impressive. On the girls' side, the sprint relay team just made sure it was a sweep for the Cardinals.
Yes.
That's Ruby Demmer and Stella Bone taking 1st place in 13:48.7. Fuller was their top finisher in the pursuit in 28th. Kendall Martinick finished in 31st, and Ella Legree was in 33rd place. So Aaron Casey on his way to compete in the pursuit. Lachlan Demmer and Albie Ludwig will be there as the top sprint relay team out of Section 5. Ruby Demmer and Stella Bone will also be there as the top sprint relay team, and I believe that Aaron Casey is the only senior on that graphic. I know Stella and Ruby are like a 9th and 10th grader,
right.
or even
like
an 8th and 9th grader.
Well, we wish them all the best of luck, certainly.
Absolutely. They're up in Giants Ridge this week for that tournament. Tournament will be Tuesday and Wednesday. Alpine ski team did have its section championships last week. The Cardinals did not qualify anyone for the state tournament, and the results had not been in by the time we sat down here.
Well, the boys basketball team had a couple of tense rematches last week against border rivals on two sides. It started on Tuesday when they went east to face the Blaine Bengals. The Cardinals had a solid second half in their first meeting, but their comeback bid fell just short. Now, looking to flip the script on the heavily favored Bengals. Best start in weeks for Coon Rapids, and they had a 9-point lead at the half, trying to maintain or push the lead in the second. Pretty move there for Jackson Young. Smooth as butter, like butter finish as he gets that finger roll. But the Bengals came roaring back. Jordan Lyon with a look from way outside. That would help spark a 13-1 run. The Bengals in transition get another big three-pointer. This one from Ethan Ellis. He had 5 from behind the arc. This one put Blaine up 54-51. Cardinals had a hot shooter on the outside too, Jackson Hetwer. Hit 6. I said it's 6 three-pointers against Blaine. Part of her career best 23 points. He also grabbed 9 boards. The Bengals playing with the lead. Zach Schusted banging his way to the baseline at 2 of his 23 in the game. Cardinals keeping it close throughout. Jackson Young had a double-double, 16 points, 11 boards. This runner made it a 2-point game, less than 2 minutes to go. Now we're less than a minute. Blaine up by 1. Alvin Payne throws this one high off the glass. Bengals up by 3. Bengals a chance to seal at the line. 3 seconds left, but it's off the mark. Jerry Freeman grabs the rebound. As you're going to see here, throws up this half-court prayer, but it's unanswered. The Cardinals fall 76-73, but they stayed close against one of the best teams in this section. Tough loss there for the Bengals.
Well, on Thursday, the Cardinals were back home hosting the Anoka Tornadoes. These teams have gone in opposite directions since their first matchup. Tornadoes were 7-2 since that game, while the Cardinals were 1-8. But after being so close against Blaine, Cardinals knew they were getting closer to being back on track. Cardinals get another good start, getting it into the hot hand of Jackson Hetwer early. His three-pointer put Coon Rapids in front. Big defense at the other end. Connor Jordan comes up with the block from behind, and Anthony Belpedio takes it on the run. He lays it up and in and forces Anoka to a very early timeout with the Cardinals in front by 9. And the student section is loving it. Hetwer had another big night, leading the Cardinals with 17 points. His 3 right here pushed the lead to 14. The Tornadoes stormed back and actually had a 1-point lead into the locker room. Cardinals get the lead right back. Belpedio with a strong drive. Too much on the shot. No problem. Jafrey Palmer there for the rebound and the putback. He had 15 points and 9 boards off the bench. Lead changed hands a couple of times in the second. Trey Borchers was absolutely on fire for the Tornadoes. He had 5 three-pointers in the game, and after putting up 21 points in the first half, he added another 13 in the second for a game-high 34. Bucket and the bump right there. Had Anoka up by 10. Peyton Padani had a triple-double for Anoka, 21 points, 13 rebounds, and 10 assists. That drive part of a 12-0 run that put the game out of reach. Tornadoes go on to an 88-67 win.
It was a tough loss for the Cardinals because they did go up early and they did have some control of that basketball game, but things fell apart in that second half for them. And it was tough to see, but they did move the ball around the perimeter pretty well. Jackson Hetwer actually had another nice game, so that's good for them, but they just couldn't get the W.
Well, and a couple of things happened. Jackson Young was saddled with early foul troubles.
Foul troubles.
So he was severely limited throughout, and they just didn't ever get a rhythm in the second half, and a couple of times they just couldn't find any way to stop Anoka. It wasn't so much the problems they were having getting their own offense in rhythm. They couldn't get the Tornadoes out of rhythm. Tornadoes have a handful of really good players, so when they get going, they can be hard to stop.
No, yeah, I mean, you talked about Trey Borchers, boy, he was just unconscious from beyond the arc, and he really hurt him, and you're right, they just, their offense was clicking in that second half.
Road doesn't get any easier.
No.
We say that an awful lot around here, but that's what happens in the Northwest Suburban Conference. Cardinals are at Maple Grove on Wednesday, and then they host Andover on Friday.
It's been a rough season for the girls basketball team, and it didn't get any easier for them last week. On Tuesday, the Cardinals hosted Blaine, a team that beat them by 50 points the first time around. They were hoping this game where they could show a little much how progress that they had made and what they're doing for the season. The Cardinals all smiles and looking for the fast start against Blaine. Bengals grabbed the lead early and never looked back. Molly Garber with a rebound and a putback. Start of a big night for her. Coon Rapids just trying to keep pace early on. Kaylee Bierman gets the long rebound, takes it on the run, all the way to the other rim, the bucket and the foul. Bierman had a team-high 10 for the Cards. But the Bengals, they keep coming in waves. Great passing to get Davis an open look from the corner. Blaine had a very early lead of 14-3. Cardinals down but not out. Good patience on offense. Beck gets it to Alex Schmidt in the low post. She turns and scores. The very next possession, as you can see the score there, but on the very next possession, it's Kaylin Green using her speed and ball handling to battle her way to the baseline, and she's going to get the basket, but they could never get a rhythm on offense. Cardinals showed some glimmers of what they can do. Great end-to-end passing right here, finished with Jakea Palmer, but the Cardinals already trailing by 30 at that point. The Bengals never slowed down. They were up 54-20 at the half. They poured on in the second, handing the Cardinals their most lopsided loss of the season. 103-29 was the final.
Yeah, never easy to give up triple digits, but and it's never easy to bounce back from that type of loss. And for these Cardinals, it was their 12th straight. But they had no time to feel bad for themselves. They were back on the court Thursday trying to end that slide against the Anoka Tornadoes. Cardinals playing from behind again, but they're keeping the Tornadoes close throughout. Cards win a battle on the floor, work the ball to Kaylin Green on the perimeter. It's part of a 9-point game for her. Cardinals working together to find the open player. Good passing to get it to Alex Schmidt down low. She turns and scores. Cardinals able to score in transition as well. Great look from Aaliyah Graham to Schmidt at the back door. This one stays anybody's game. Late in the first half, Kaylee Bierman with a long three-pointer from the left wing. Cardinals trail 20-17 at the break. Unfortunately, Anoka able to take control in the second. Lydia Lockinen hands off to Madeline Frucking, streaking down the lane for the basket. Lockinen again. This time using her size down low to bully her way to the basket. The Tornadoes start to pull away. Lockinen one more time, this time driving to her right and scoring off the glass. Anoka dominates the second on their way to a 59-33 win.
You know, the girls have had some glimpses at times during the season, and it's just that they haven't been able to put anything together, and that's been tough. But Coach Bierman said, you know, this is not about this year. This is about the future. They have a very young team. He's putting in a new program, new systems, and it's something that they're going to have to continue to develop as the years go on. But it can't be easy for them.
No, and we talk a lot. I mean, momentum, rhythm. We talk about those types of catchphrases a lot, but it's important, especially in a game like basketball. I had to review the sheet like 3 or 4 times to make sure that I wasn't mistaken. But the back-to-back baskets we had the video of, Schmidt and then Green that you talked about, they're only back-to-back points in that entire contest.
Yeah, that's tough.
Well, and they didn't get a whole lot of back-to-back points on Saturday either. Just 5 points in the first half against Cambridge Isani. They lose to the Blue Jackets 54-19. Kaylee Bierman, the leading scorer, with 7 points. Sophia Smith had 6. Casey Beck 4, and Kaylin Green had 2. And they've got that same daunting schedule ahead of them for as the boys. They host Maple Grove on Wednesday, and they're at Andover on Friday.
Not going to be easy again, but, you know, again, it's a learning experience, especially for those younger players.
No, a lot of Maple Grove happening for Coon Rapids Athletics this week, and it starts with the CPCR Bluebirds facing off against number 1 seeded Maple Grove in the section semifinal over at Roseville at 5 o'clock on Tuesday. Should they get the victory there, they will play in the championship on Saturday. Boys hockey playoffs will start on Saturday as well. We're hoping to know more in the next 24 to 48 hours as far as where they'll be and who they will be facing off against. But and how those coaches decided to vote in their section, because some crazy things happened. There was a lot of discussion about that on Saturday at the hockey rink. Some of the sections that got shaken up by the vote going against the QRF ranking.
I mean, you can go into the section ranking thinking about who should be seated where, but it doesn't always turn out that way.
All comes down to the vote. But we hope you vote this as one of your favorite sports programs. We hope you'll join us again next week, but that's going to do it for this edition of Sports Night. I want to thank everybody out there for joining us and continuing to support everything we do here at CTN. For the entire crew, including Howie Shapiro, I'm Joe Young, saying good night.